Hello and welcome back my fellow friends to a new Kerbal Space Program video, and actually the new KSP update video. But in this video it's not going to be quite the same as in other update videos that are out there, where we're just going to talk about the new things. No, we're going to do an actual mission where we're going to first of all, we're going to visit Tylo and have a look at the new graphics there, so the texture update, as well as using a few of the new parts and items and mechanics that we now have available to us. But before we're going to jump there, I do want to have a very brief and quick overlook of the new things. And the first thing that maybe a lot of people might have actually missed is this new icon here. So it's warp to sunrise, that was already there, but just a new iconography. Okay, so with that being said, quickly into the SPH space plane hangar to have a look at the new parts and the new mechanics. So yeah, and by the way, down in the script, down in the timeline, there should be actually timestamps so that you know where to jump to, like for example to lift off. So first of all, now right into this one. Now if we right click on cockpits, we already have we can see new kind of UI here. So first of all, we have now this inventory thing that's called here. So every cockpit has the and command capsule and whatever has this new thing available. So we smack down a Mark 1 command pod lander can, you can see it over here. So there's obviously a difference how big the cockpit is, or the command pod. This reflects how much stuff you can put into this inventory, A in terms of liters and B in terms of different items. And yeah, and you can see now here the different Kerbals have their own inventory, but more on that you'll see that in the mission itself. But you can now, for example, accept instead of the default option for all Kerbals being like the jetpack and the parachute, you can for example take away the parachute and the jetpack and give them here in the cargo category, for example, a experimental kit and what is that, EVA repair kit, for example. And here you can see, that's also one of the new things, this new bar right next to all those items. Well, some of the items can be stacked, like for example these EVA kits. As you can see here down in the bottom, they increase the volume and the mass. However, it's not necessary to take a new new inventory slot, sorry, not slot. And if we now, for example, take the experimental control unit station that we had already earlier, it fills up a certain amount of volume as well as the entire inventory slot. So you cannot put in too many, you're restricted by the amount of slots in certain respects, and not only by the volume, but also the absolute number of items. A other example that was very interesting in my opinion, was actually the and liquid fuel engine. You can stack the and liquid fuel engine, so you can take two small liquid fuel engines with you in one slot, as well as and of course having a fuel tank in order, or rather two fuel tanks, to build a small rocket. So that's something you can do now in space, or on the surface of a small moon or something like that. The other change, well, that's like the major change. Obviously we're going to talk about that more during the mission as well. The other rather interesting things are these, apologies for that, my phone just rang, but I don't care about that right now. So the other interesting new thing is, or are the all sorts of different lights. Like for example this light here, you can as well change the color. There we go. You can now more easily change the color scheme, so you have already preset colors. However, if you still like the red, blue and green spectrum, well, to just get any color you like, you can still do that down here with all those sliders. But this just gives you already a preset amount of colors that are used quite a lot and easily accessible. And you have more lights, all sorts of different lights. So you can have, like here, one of those blink. Well, all of them are able, you can set them to just regular on, off and blinking. And that this is, in my opinion, like more or less a regular light, like the illuminators that we had earlier, but just more sleek in design. And where's the searchlight? There's a searchlight there. We have here spotlight. This is, I think, a very interesting light, because if we now place it here somewhere, you can rotate them. So first of all, let's make the light on, and something how we can see like red. So, and if you rotate this, wait, pitch angle, here we go. Okay, maybe right now that's a bad place to have a look at this. So if we now have a look at the ground, you should be able to see the... Oh, come on, why aren't you showing it? Because, well, the point is, you can rotate this light even during, once it's been placed, so you can move it like that. Again, I can see it at least a tiny bit here. So you can move it around and still, well, move it around so that you have a different angle even after you've launched your craft. Anyways, that was way too long just talking about this one light, but this is also a cool addition in my opinion. And now on to the best addition in my opinion. Well, best, apart from the obvious one, that being the being able to add different parts and so on after you've taken off. Well, kind of in that regard, the second best change is to the RCS blocks. So first of all, we have two new RCS blocks. We can see this one place anywhere linear 1. So this is actually just, there we go, maybe here, there you go. This is just a smaller version of this one. So if the regular place anywhere 7 linear RCS port, the difference is kind of thrust and the weight. So this one is 10%, so a tenth of in the strength. So for smaller satellites, this is a lot better, so that you don't have like a huge RCS port that kind of clogs up your entire satellite. If you, for example, just as a small demonstration what I mean here, if we take one of the smallest satellites, well, probe control units that we have, and then smack in one of the small RCS ports, tanks, and that places 7, like the old one. This is okay, like this was still manageable, but right now, look at this. This is perfect. This is like a perfect fit, fits in the style. And now comes the bigger, like the second change. We have the old RCS blocks that we had earlier, and now we have smaller RCS blocks, exactly for smaller satellites. And on top of that, here it comes, we have different variations of RCS ports. And well, apart from the biggest change that you now have different orientations, more orientations or less orientations, so you can go from not only having like a 4 directional, you can have 5 directions, or you can have still the 4 but in a different design here, and 3 and 2. So this is very useful if you really fine-tuning your controls, as in building a craft where you really need the RCS to be precise. And the other thing that improves upon the precision, if you have a look at if you now have a look at, come on, don't go that way. If you have a look at those nozzles, they are not really at a 90-degree angle outside. However, these ones are. So with that, you will actually in total have more precise control over your craft in all sorts of directions when you're using the new RCS ports. And there's actually one more change to the RCS ports, but you will probably or maybe see them later on, and that is they have added the heating effect. So if you, and we've had it already earlier, well, in all engines, that if you're burning with an engine, it starts to glow because it's getting hot from the exhaust gases. Now the same actually happens to the RCS ports. And with that being said, these are all the important things that I want to talk about here in this live commentary, and I see you guys at liftoff. And here we are at liftoff, and as you can probably guess, in the post-commentary session. So I just is a bit not that specific, but anyways, so we're going to head out to Tylo in today's mission, since Tylo got one of the bodies that got a nice texture revamp, and I think, well, that's a pretty interesting body to visit in this sort of mission, where we're going to show the new features from this new Kerbal Space Program version. And there's one feature that I have that nobody has mentioned so far as I can tell at the very least, but it has a huge impact on the game, and that is performance. I am totally blown away by how much the performance actually increased. I mean, As if you've watched other videos on my channel, you do know that I tend to launch every now and then a rather large craft, couple hundred parts, or at least 150, 200 parts, and that's where more or less the threshold is, where you start feeling the difference between a high part count craft and low part count craft. But this time the launch vehicle you saw in the very beginning, it had around 200-ish parts, and it loaded up very fast and flew up without any hitch whatsoever. Well, in terms of performance, I was very surprised, obviously in a positive manner, so this is something to keep in mind. And thanks to the power of video editing and not being me fiddling like a gazillion minutes around with the maneuver notes, we are already at Tylo for our first out of, I have no clue how many gravity assists, and there went the second, and here we are at the very last final approach to Tylo. Actually, in real time, this mission took me 3 hours, because I was playing around with all those gravity assists, trying to get a nice Tylo assist, lathe assist, Tylo assist, Tylo assist, lathe assist, Tylo assist. So that's pretty much what the mission plan looked like, and here we are now slowing ourselves down into a low Tylo orbit in order to jump into the next section, where we're going to ditch the service module, transfer stage, there you go, and the main craft, well, lander, where we're going now down to the surface of Tylo. Again, pretty close to the previous Tylo mission location, so if you haven't seen that mission yet, I would actually suggest you watching that, even though the textures are not that great right now. However, in terms of mission, I'm talking a lot more about that mission, since this is a bit more just skimming through pretty much all the non-essential new gameplay parts. And here, as we approach touchdown, we're slowing down the footage back from 8 times regular speed, which is, like I said, we're really going through all this footage, not new footage, rather fast. And here you actually saw or can see just a tiny bit the red glow from the RCS ports, and this is like one of the things that I mentioned in the very beginning, that the new the RCS ports, apart from having new RCS ports now, actually model the heating from the expanding gases when you're using those cold gas thrusters. But anyways, we're now planting down a flag, and the flag just fell over, and we're testing out this new science experiment. We just actually, I think this is something new for every single Kerbal. For example, for Jeopardy, it's smashing a banana, and for Bill, I think it was the hockey, no, not hockey, but rather golf club. Anyways, here you can see me using for the first time in this video this part, like construction mode, in order to stop the rover rolling away, since it obviously had no brakes, so that we could push it from underneath the craft. And then I decided, yeah, let's just take away one of the wheels in order to stop the rover. And then you saw it is actually what you can see here, attaching the wheel back on. Even though that sounds like a very simple task, it's not that simple. So the attachment system actually is a bit, let's say, it's not quite snappy enough in terms of where you can snap things in place, so that they are more or less aligned with the surface area of the part that you're trying to attach. And like you saw with the flag earlier, there are a few bugs here and there. Speaking of bugs and glitches, I am now deploying and kind of picking up and redeploying those, in just a second at least, those experiments, in order to activate them, because they are not activating, and it is very weird. I think in the end I got the control panel and the seismometer working, but the generator didn't want to be picked up like a third or fourth time, and it kind of bugged him, and you can push it around a lot more than you can push around the other objects, so that's one of the bugs. So there are actually a few bugs left, so yeah, that's kind of a bummer for this update, even though everything else is totally awesome. And here you can see me using the new mechanic to its fullest potential, well, at least in my opinion, to its fullest potential. I mean, we can now take off all the unnecessary bits and pieces from our lander in order to reduce the mass and gain more delta V. So something a la Mark Watney style from The Martian. So if you haven't seen that movie, go and have a look at this. This is a brilliant movie. It's good, it's fun, it's entertaining, and has some scientific accuracy in it. Not everything obviously, but at least to a higher degree than most other movies out there. Then I accidentally fell down with Bill, so we just had to place down the letters again, and that's pretty much it. We just climbed up the stairs and removed the letters again and the stairs, and here we have a nice lift off from Tylo with our slightly modified craft. And actually, to be quite honest, not just now, we're going obviously to rendezvous with the craft, and actually after having rendezvous with the craft, I decided to make a small mission plan. So the plan was originally to now jump into this command pod and fly to Lathe and splash down there, but we didn't have enough fuel for that. Well, the main stage only had 500 meters per second of fuel, and that was not comfortably enough for me. Well, could have done that with some digging, but it was, like I said, already 3.5 hours into this mission, and I really wanted to bring out this video today, so at least by the end of the 18th December, probably for you, depends where you're from, it might actually already be the 19th, but I really am trying to get this video done today. The other reason why I'm a bit late is actually because I had earlier today still a lot of other things to do, so I only started recording in the evening. But anyways, long story short, we picked up the parachutes that we had on the two of the 3 parachutes that we had on the Mark II command port here, and we slapped them onto the smaller craft, our ascent vehicle from Tylo, and with that we can now head to Lathe and await there. Well, enjoy the relaxing beach and sit back and relax, I guess. So whilst we're now going to Lathe, actually, I'm just going to quickly sum up the update. So all in all, we got a very new mechanic into the game, which is a brilliant change, and this is something that we've been waiting for quite a long time, and it added a few new parts and general optimization by quite a lot. Like I said, quality of life improvements, and this is in my opinion something that you shouldn't neglect. Yes, we are all happy to see and get new parts and new mechanics to play around with, but in the end, having this performance increase really makes a big difference and enables even other players to play on a toaster. So with that being said, we are approaching Splashdown. I hope you have enjoyed this slightly special video, and see you guys next time. Spaceship signing out. Enjoy the rest of your day, my friends.